All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and review Nature of Science first. So this is one of those all you need to know PowerPoints. So if you know everything in this PowerPoint, you will be able to answer any questions on your midterm. So first off, let's start off with our variables. So we have three different types of variables in any type of controlled experiment. We have our independent, which is what I control or what I change. That's the one thing we're changing in every experiment to test out our hypothesis. Then we have the dependent variable, which is what we're measuring. So whatever data we're collecting, that's our dependent variable. And then we have our constant. And our constant is what's going to be staying the same across all of our different trials. So remember, in any experiment, we only want to change one thing at a time. That's our independent variable. Everything else, we want to keep exactly the same. And those are going to be our constants. So you might have a lot of different constants in an experiment. All right, so let's look at an example. So I think that plants will grow fastest under red light. To test this, I grow plants under red, blue, green, and normal lights. I give them all the same amount of light and water. I measure the plant height every day for 3 weeks. So our independent variable, remember that's what I control or what I change. So in this scenario, I'm controlling the type of light that the plants are being grown under. So those different color of lights, that's my independent variable. My dependent variable is what I'm measuring. So in this scenario, that's going to be plant height. Plant height's what I'm measuring. Constants, there'll be a lot of different constants here. So we have two laid out in the scenario, which is amount of light and amount of water. I'd also want to keep the type of plant, the type of soil, the type of container, anything that's not that different color of light, I'm going to want to keep the exact same among all of those different plants. All right, next we have our control group and experimental group. So the experimental group or test group, you'll see it written either way, is going to receive that special independent variable or the special treatment. The control group is going to be as things would happen naturally. So in this example here, in an experiment, 100 rose plants were grown under red wavelengths of light. An additional 100 rose plants were grown under normal light conditions. The rose plants grown under normal light conditions were that's going to be the control group because they have those normal conditions there. The rose plants grown under red wavelengths of light, that's going to be our test group or an experimental group. And let's go back here. Let me see. Ooh. There we go, this one. So I grow plants under red, blue, green, and normal lights. Here, our experimental groups would be those ones under the different color lights, the red, blue, and green lights. Our control group here would be the plants grown under the normal lights. All right, so our three types of scientific studies. We have controlled experiments, which is where the scientist is controlling the situation. That's where you're going to have your three variables. You have observational studies, where the scientists, they only watch, they only observe, they don't interfere. And then we have our research study. That's when we're going to use previously published data. So you're not actually collecting your own data, you're using other people's data and then coming to your own conclusions. So that would be like when you write a research paper and do research online or in books. All right, so this one, a scientist wants to know how individual lions within a pride interact with each other in their own environment. To do this, he sedates and tags all of the lions within a pride, then places several remotely controlled video cameras near the lion's den and performs an observational field study. He collects continuous video footage over the span of 1 year, analyzes the video, and then forms conclusions based on his observations. This is going to be an example of an observational study. That scientist is not interfering. He's just observing their natural behavior and coming to conclusions that way through those observations. All right, laws and theories. So theories explain why, and laws describe what is what to remember. So theories is going to tell us why something happens. Law is just going to tell us what will happen. So for example, let's say I'm holding an apple up in the air and I drop it. A law would tell me that that apple is going to drop. A theory would tell me why that apple is going to drop. All right, we're going to go into part 2 here in a second.